Welcome to another special bonus episode of Let's Talk Pokemon, the podcast where we talk everything and anything Pokemon. And it's another special bonus episode because, well, if you recall about a couple months back, me and my buddy Squirtle Squad 47, who's also goes by Austin, he's here with me right now.
Hello.
We're going to go through the Pokemon generations, each game because of the 25th anniversary celebration as they were going through Galar, and then we had Alola, and then Kalos. We unfortunately, though, did not cover the last 2 months because adult life, again, gets in the way very much so. I know I had my end of the year, school year doings where I have to prep the students for their final exams and just make sure I get all my forms turned in and everything. Austin, you had finals you were taking and prepping for your courses. And so we have 2 months of Pokemon talk to kind of catch up, which we're not going to do a whole 3-hour tour here on this episode, but we want to be able to at least cover our pros and cons of each game. Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, right? Because you played Ultra Sun.
Oh, yes.
And I didn't realize that I never actually finished my copy of Ultra Moon when I was going back to visiting that game again. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'll just kind of, because I wasn't that far in. I think I was only at the first trial. So I was like, I'll just restart and just go through it again. Yeah. And then for Kalos, I played Y. I don't know which version you played.
I played Y as well because I played X the first time.
Yep, same as me. So we'll first talk about then the Alola region, since that should have been what month was that? February, March, April?
April.
The Alola region, Gen 7, Pokemon Sun and Moon came out November 18th, if I'm not mistaken, 2016, which was another big year for Pokemon because that was the 20th anniversary celebration. That's what that whole year led up to, where we had that really, I thought was an awesome trailer where they were kind of going through all the generations. It all comes together and they were showing you the sprites of from Pokemon Red and Blue all the way up to Gen 6 at that point. And then there was another trailer where it showed this kid that was really obsessed with Pokemon, but then he grew up, he was working at a business, completely forgot about Pokemon, didn't have time for it, and then he saw a poster at a store and was like, oh my gosh, that's Pokemon, I remember. And then it kind of shows this graphical difference between what Pokemon was to what Pokemon is now. Was followed though by negative reception by some of the Pokemon community, if I recall correctly. Do you remember what the general reception was like afterwards?
I only heard of people having negative reception. In my circle, it was all positive and excitement.
I just remember people not liking that there were no gyms and that there was no proper Elite Four, so to speak, which I didn't really know what that meant because it still felt like we had an Elite Four. I'm trying to think what else. I think that was the biggest thing though, was the gyms, the lack of gyms in this game. So I guess to start at the beginning though, let's just keep it open. What were some of your favorite memories from this game?
Well, from as a whole, I liked just the aesthetic of the region. I liked a lot of the new Pokemon. I really liked that they got rid of HMs, and I liked the ride Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Trying to think of split memories of Sun and Moon versus Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Ultra Moon will have a special place in my heart because it's the first time I found a full odds, true random encounter shiny. It was a Tentacruel on the route where you first get Sharpedo as your ride Pokemon.
Cool. Okay.
And I was like, oh. It wasn't my first shiny. I'd done shiny hunting I had first ever done shiny hunting because of SOS in Sun and Moon. So
Mhm.
I had a few going into Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So like that kind of kick-started shiny hunting for me, which is another like fond memory of Alola.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think overall, like the characters in general were like more memorable than to me than a lot of games. Like I can at least maybe not recall their names, but like I can see like all of the trial leaders' faces and like
Hmm.
remember their general like vibe and personality. But like even having just kind of gone through Kalos again, I couldn't. I could maybe picture two gym leaders.
Okay.
So I don't know. I like the Z moves overall a lot. I really like Lunala and Solgaleo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
well,
really liked Alola.
I remember being very obsessed with this game when it came out because I remember even playing through Christmas break. At that point, I had basically completed my Pokedex, and then I was going for the quote unquote national dex, even though there wasn't technically a national dex in there. You just had the option of being able to import or catch Pokemon that wasn't part of the Alola dex because they had the QR scan codes that you
Yeah, the
did like
QR.
it was like what three times you could do it in a day or something like that. Like it was very time limited.
Yeah, it
Um
was. You did it, and depending on the day of the week, it would be on like a random island, and then that island would have like there's some system to kind of pick
yeah,
which what you were getting, but then yeah, you had like an hour to catch
yeah.
them.
Yeah, there was also like a different set of Pokemon for that place and for that time because I remember the starters being like on a rotation, like you can only get Charmander on this day, and I don't know, in what Chimchar on another day or something like that. I do
Yeah,
recall having to follow that particular schedule, so it made it a little bit longer to try to complete that national dex, I guess. Um, but I feel like I'm biased towards this region in the sense that I favor it only because it is based off the islands of Hawaii, basically, or
mm-hmm.
in general Polynesian islands. But I lived in Hawaii for 4 years, and everything about what I saw in that game, just the tropical paradise portion of it, just made me kind of had a lot of memories of my time in Hawaii. And I was really digging the aesthetic. I was digging the Pokemon that were kind of centered for that region. So like Alolan Raichu being on a surfboard, basically. His tail was a surfboard, which is a really cool thing. I thought they added to it.
Alolan
The
Executor, the
Alolan,
best Alolan form.
which, yes, I would agree. I don't understand the dragon typing to that, though, but we can talk about that later.
I think
Um,
there is a lore explanation to it, but I don't remember.
but everything I felt like was great about that game. And even though the gyms were absent, I didn't mind the trials because it still felt like a gym scenario where if I recall, like if I remembering this correctly, right, in the gyms you had trainers you had to defeat, and then you ended up at the big boss gym leader who had more powerful Pokemon. In Alola, it's almost the same thing, where if you're going through the trial, you have these smaller, lower level Pokemon that you have to deal with, but then you get your totem Pokemon that you have to battle, who happens to be a much bigger Pokemon, much higher level, and it has like the extra help of another Pokemon that jumps in. So it kind of felt like it was still a gym. It just didn't have the same aesthetic to it as a gym, which I don't
Yeah.
know. I what were your thoughts on that though? Like what when you realized that there were no gyms in this and that we were going to have these trials, like how did you feel going into it, and then what was your thoughts afterwards?
So to kind of, because I feel like Sword and Shield tried to do the mix, because like some gyms before like had puzzles, like little
Right.
ice puzzles or something, but like I like that it was a yeah, like almost some of them felt like dungeon crawls,
Hmm.
like an MMO dungeon crawl with the the totem Pokemon being like the boss, the end boss of the dungeon, as opposed to like just solve a puzzle and battle with trainers. And I personally liked it. Like I wasn't. I don't know if I like say it was better than the gym system or I'm like disappointed. Like I definitely wasn't like, man, I wish they had gyms. I really enjoyed it, but I'm not like adamantly like pro trials or pro gyms. I just
Hmm.
think it definitely fit the region and the setting, and I definitely enjoyed doing them, and I wouldn't mind if they did them again later. But again, I'm not like, oh, they're better than gyms or gyms are better than trials.
What was your take on the I guess the not right was it the rivals or the quote unquote bad villains of the game, the
Team Skull.
Team Skull.
I love Team Skull. They're my favorite evil team.
They're not necessarily evil too, right? And we
Yeah,
find out that there's a different agenda with them, which I don't know. Out of all the I don't know how to categorize them. The bad villain group of each game,
I mean
they're kind of my least favorite.
they're more of a villain team than like Team Yell, but
Yes,
they're not Team Rocket.
they. I guess because do you remember the promotional video for Sun and Moon where they had Pikachu breakdancing against Team Skull?
I do not remember that.
You haven't seen this? Oh my goodness. It's literally what I just said. Like it's a dance battle between Team Skull and I think they have like someone that's dressed up as Guzma and someone that's dressed up as Plumeria and they'll chime in once in a while, but it's against a team of Pikachus and they're just breakdancing and just showing off their skills and it's just after that like I just couldn't like take that team seriously when I always went back to replay Sun and Moon. I was like, I don't know about this guy. It's not
That just makes me love them even more.
But then, if we do, well, since we did Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you had the other uh, the space. I don't know. They look like spacemen basically, like
Yeah,
your
the
typical.
Ultra Recon Squad.
That's right. Yeah, the Ultra Recon Squad. Like I I kind of like them a little bit better than Team Skull, just because at least I could take them a little bit more seriously. They at least had like a mission going forward, but
I mean, I liked their very static Alola greeting. Like,
it was interesting that they put those in like immediately at the beginning of the game though, because I think that
yeah,
the first time you encounter them is just right after you get your starter Pokemon.
yeah, because they're like, we're watching you.
um
Hello.
so I mean the characters are very diverse. uh I don't know if I would say that they're as memorable as you put them. I think I'm on the opposite side where, as much as I love this game, I think I was just more in love with the region itself and the Pokemon that inhabit it, and not so much of the people in the game.
That's fair. According to Bulbapedia, there's only 1,005 people in the entirety of Alola, so
Now, if we talk about Pokemon, overall thoughts on the Pokemon, including the Ultra Beast, what do you think?
I really like the Ultra Beasts as like an. I think they do a good job embodying uh, extra dimensional creatures
Hmm.
that aren't like they just look unnatural and they're not supposed to look natural. And I think they do a very good job of that. Like what Nihilego is the closest thing to like a natural looking creature, like a one we would find on Pokemon Earth.
Hmm.
Um, man, well, I would say Alolan Marowak, even though Alolan Executor is my favorite Alolan form, I still think Alolan Marowak's like probably like my favorite fire Pokemon. Like
He's Fire Ghost, right?
yeah, Fire
Yeah.
Ghost. I love Alola Marowak. I think Delmise is such a sweet like design and everything about it. I love the uh, Jangmo-O, Komo-O line.
That's actually my least favorite of the Pokemon. I don't know. I
Uh,
can't get over the scaly look or to it. Like it just looks weird to me.
that's fair. I can see it. I can see it. I played the Lycanroc line. All three Rockruff evolutions I like
Do
a
you have a
lot.
favorite?
I have a shiny day form, so I probably will have to say that one.
Okay.
Another why I was what was I think I was hunting a wild Jangmo and I found the shiny Lycanroc.
So if we stick to the Alolan forms of our Kanto counterparts, right? So there's Raticate, Raichu, Sandshrew and Sandslash,
Oh, I love
Vulpix and
that.
Ninetales.
I love both of those too.
Uh,
The shift to ice.
we have Diglett and the Beach Boys, Meowth and Persian, Geodude, Graveler and Golem, Muck and Grimer and Muck, and then like you said,
Mm.
Executor and Marowak. Um, I don't. The only one I'm not a fan of. Well, there's two of them. The Lowland Meowth and Persian, which I don't understand the whole chubby cheeks face kind of ordeal.
Yeah.
They don't seem that much more interesting, other than they just gain a dark typing. And then the Golem, I don't understand why he just every time I look at him, he just reminds me of Mario. Like the mustache whole
The
aesthetic
mustache.
just is really weird to me.
I assume it's similar logic to like Probopass, right? Like they're metal shavings that get magnetized to them.
Oh, is that what that is?
I don't know. That's Probopass is like what its mustache is. It's just metal
Huh.
shavings. But I always kind of assumed since Golem's a giant magnet, that was its thing too.
Sandslash was really, really cool. I did like the icy spikes it gets on its back.
Yeah.
Like I said, Raichu and his surfeit board tail is awesome. That he gets a psychic typing, which is really awesome too. Which I don't think is he the only electric psychic? I think he's the only one.
Um,
Which is
I think he might be, which is I want to say I feel like there's another one, but for the life of me, couldn't tell you what it was. So probably is
you can't remember all 1,000 plus Pokemon.
Not their typings, surprisingly.
The trio is just funny to look at, and I think that's why I gave it a pass.
Well, they're like the lava rock hairs that like it's a real thing too.
Sure. But again, going back to Executor, I don't understand the dragon typing to this Pokemon.
I
Why
pulled up
is
the
this
Bulbapedia
considered a dragon?
trivia. So a coconut or palm tree may be a reference to the Tricania genus of trees, which the coconut and palm tree fall into, or it's a pun because of Coca, a dragon whose name shares similar origin to the word coconut.
That's terrible. I feel like if he gets dragon typing, why can't Tropius get dragon typing? Tropius is more dragon than Alolan Executor.
Because it's a dinosaur.
Okay, fine.
It's a banana tree dinosaur.
The starters. This was extremely tough for me because this was the first time that I actually almost caved in and went for Rowlet instead of Poplio. Like I was really close. Like I sat there for a while looking at the two, knowing what the final evolution was, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this or not because Grass and Ghost just sounded like a cool typing in general, and I think we've had Trevenant before that. I think he was also Grass and
And
Ghost, but
Pumpkaboo. And
Decidueye just it's just a really cool design, and it was very tempting for me to go for that line, but obviously I still resorted to Poplio. I'm not going to break my water tradition, but I mean, what was your take on the starters?
Poplio is actually my least favorite, which is weird because I tend to like the water starters more.
Okay.
I couldn't not get the wrestling Fire Cat.
Yeah, I could care less for Incineroar.
I saw him and I was like, I don't even care how good the other ones are. I named my my Incineroar John Cena, and man, it was just in my head every time I threw him out. Just and I loved playing through it every bit. So looking up unique type combinations, yes, Alolan Raichu is the only electric psychic.
Okay. So since water Pokemon were our primarily favorites for the most part, you said Popplio was your least favorite starter. What about
Mhm.
Primarina though? Like their final evolutions?
I think they're all great. There just had to be there just has to be a least favorite out of the three. And like you, I think Decidueye is a really sweet design and looks really cool.
I like that for at least a water starter, we get a water fairy as the final typing.
Yes.
I just like how they always do like the different typings that we don't normally expect. Like, you know, with Empoleon, we had water steel.
Yeah.
With Mudkip, you know, we had water ground, and I wish they kind of went back to that because that's what I was hoping for going into Sword and Shield. Was like, oh, okay, let's get some new typings in there. This would be much interesting. That's why I was hoping for a water dragon at the end,
Yeah.
but you know, they resorted to mono typings, which I mean, there could be speculation as to why they did that, but I
I
just
mean,
like that.
it's been a while, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and
Or I
I
guess the Gen 5. I think with Gen 8, I think that made it even 4 and 4.
yeah. Okay.
With,
Yeah.
with the last, the final forms being monotype.
Now going through the rest of the list here, I mean, Vicavolt's awesome. I like
Thinkable, right?
Crabominable. Um,
I like Brawler more
that's fair.
personally,
That's
but
fair.
I will also say, as though Poplio Primarina, that line's my least favorite. Brion is the best middle evolution of the three.
You think
Torracat,
so?
Torracat, and Dartrix just
I like Dartrix.
just get them out of here. Garbage. Brion,
Smug face.
Brion's great. Get your little
Um,
fake bow tie out of here, Dartrix.
Palosan. Right, there's Palosan and Sandy
Sandy
Gas.
Gast,
Those are great.
also great.
Golisopod is a pretty awesome bug Pokemon. Just
Mm-hmm.
design wise, I really like it. Turtonator
Yeah,
was one of my favorite fire Pokemon in this generation.
I like
Um,
Salazzle Sass.
can't you can't rule out Mimikyu. I think Mimikyu just happened to be like people weren't sure going into it, but then after just seeing it in action, was like, yep, this is one of those fan favorite Pokemon that's going to stick
Yeah,
around for a while. And
yeah.
then as far as the Tapus go, I
I love all the Tapus.
I do like them all in general, but my favorite Tapu would probably be Tapu Koko,
Yeah,
which is a shame because I feel like I don't like resorting to just like the I don't want to say basic or the standard, but like Tapu Koko is like the one that's used a lot in the anime, just like Pikachu, right? Pikachu, oh, your favorite's Pikachu, that's obvious. Tapu Koko is like, oh, that's your favorite, that's obvious. But I just really like its design. I really like playing the card game because I had a deck around Tapu Koko, which did really, really well. And just I don't know, overall, I just that one just sticks out to me the most.
I like Tapu Bulu because it's my favorite one to say.
Now, the Ultra Beast, I don't know if I have a favorite Ultra Beast because
Stack
even
Attacka
really, why?
because it's the best one to say.
Just reminds me of playing Tetris every time he
Stack
like
Attacka.
changes shape. The clown freaks me out though.
Blacephalon.
Blacephalon, yeah, I just really weird design.
I like Xurkitree too. I like Xurkitree's overall design. I also think it's a fun word to say as well. But I like. I think aesthetically, I think I like Xurkitree the most.
Now the lineup of mythicals is interesting in this one
It's
because
probably the weakest part of the generation.
is Magearna considered a mythical?
Yes,
Marshadow.
Marshadow's good.
Is he a mythical as well?
Yes, the
Okay.
mythicals for this were
Magearna,
Megina
Marshadow,
and Zeraora.
and kind of technically maybe, but not officially confirmed Melmetal.
Yeah, I don't know where Melmetal's. I think the word was technically considered Gen 7.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a weird thing because they got released in Pokemon Go first before anything else, but we didn't have Sword and Shield
But I
yet. So
think Let's Go is considered Gen 7.
yeah,
And
I,
it's in Let's Go, so I think it's Gen 7.
which I
So
really
Emma
like.
Metal.
I really like Melmetal. I really
Okay,
like
so it's 50
Meltan.
50. I'm not a fan of Megina or Zeraora, but Marshadow and Melmetal, Meltan are good.
Zeraora just feels like a Pokemon version of Wolverine to me.
Yeah, I think he feels like one who never got past like second draft.
Wait, can you clarify that?
So like they probably roughed out like Lightning Cat, humanoid, and they're like, okay, like refine it a little. And they're like, all right, and then they got to where they got, and they're like, okay, put a pin in it. We need to like give it one more pass, but they never got back to it.
Oh, that's I get. Well, I was disappointed with the movie behind it because
I think the movie makes me feel that way more than anything. It does have a really good
probably.
shiny. I like the
Oh
white
yeah,
and
the
the
white.
and the green.
Did you get the one that was distributed in Pokemon Home?
I did.
Yeah, that was. I really do like the shiny. I agree with you on that one. Um, over. What about okay? So Mantine Surf and the what's it called? Oh my goodness, I'm already forgetting the what's it the not the time warping thing, but the
The ultra wormholes.
yeah the ultra wormholes. So Mantine Surf, ultra wormholes. Those were the newest, basically significant additions to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Did you play that part often, or did you just thought I was like,
I
I'll just
like
do it once and then be done with it?
I liked wormhole hunting, like in post game, especially in
Mm-hmm.
the ultras, looking for the legendaries and shiny hunting in there. That was fun. I got a shiny Latios, whichever one's yellow shiny. I think it's Latios.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, Doing that, so that's good. I did Mantine Cirrus. One of the things that I did for like an hour straight one time to like get enough battle points until I could just consistently win enough in the battle tree to
Okay.
never have to do it again.
Okay, that's fair. I like the concept behind it, but yeah, I don't know if it's something that I could continuously do again and again and again just for the sake of battle points.
Yeah.
Um, but the wormhole, I it was I don't know. It's fine. It's very what reminiscent of what we had in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, kind of the same concept, right? Where you had to
Yeah.
fly around and you got to encounter legendary Pokemon that way. It just seemed like they just made it a little bit more interesting by making you go through circles,
Yeah.
which
Doing a mini game.
yeah, a little bit. Although we didn't really mention too the post game for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I really dug the whole Team Rainbow Rocket storyline and the fact that you had like all these legendary Pokemon that you had to battle with or battle against, and I don't know. I really like that whole
I liked Rainbow
element.
Rocket a lot. I think it was really good post game.
It almost you don't play Pokemon Math.
I haven't. I played it for a while for like the first 3 or 4 months.
There's I feel like what the storyline with Giovanni and some of the other bosses in there kind of sets up the Team Rainbow Rocket storyline, which is interesting. So I'm wondering if they are going to make that connection at all, because now you're dealing with like time travel, kind of, right?
Yeah, because they're like different dimension versions of the leaders or whatever.
Yeah, it's really weird. I feel like they wrote themselves like a little loophole to be kind of like, we can just do whatever we want now at this point. And so I just feel like
Yeah.
Pokemon Masters toys around with that concept since Giovanni is in the game and we just got Archie and Maxie in the game, and it just seems more and more interesting. And whenever they bring those people together, and you get this little bit of dialogue that hints at other games. So I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. But
Nice.
overall, Sun and Moon, I don't know, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I It was fun to go back and play it again. I don't know though if this is something I would go like if it wasn't for us doing these special bonus episodes. I don't know if I'd go back and want to replay that whole adventure. I mean, do you think that you would do that?
I'd probably do it one more time. It's hard because it's so slow to get going.
Right, yeah. That's what
Um,
I was thinking too. Like the dialogue is a little bit lengthy, although I don't hate it as much as other people do. But
no,
eh,
we'll get to my least favorite starting game shortly. But the real question is, what do you think of the Ultra Necrozma fight? And then on the other point is, if you got to it on this most recent playthrough, how did you get by him?
I mean, fairy type, right? Like it wasn't. I didn't have as difficult time as I think most other people did. Like it was a little bit. I don't know, more because difficulty in Pokemon games is a weird thing to talk about. Because
Yeah.
if you know typing, then there's really nothing difficult to it unless they do like some boost stats, which I don't know. For me, it just felt like the match was a little bit longer and not so much difficult, if that makes sense.
Well, I think if you just didn't have expect, because it's considerably higher level than you. Like if you kind of like aren't grinding, like if you're just playing, I think you're in like the 40s and it's 60.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I did focus sash, endeavor, quick attack.
Okay.
So like it was a joke, but I've always liked that in like speedrunning they do the Zorua strategy where they catch a Zorua and it's something else and then they just toxic it and it keeps using psychic attacks because it see whatever it sees you as. It thinks psychic's the best move to do, but you're a Zorua, so it doesn't affect you.
I'm pretty sure I didn't beat it my first playthrough. Like my first time going through an Ultra Cosmo, I don't that first whole team, I didn't get through it. That whole like that first time is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I just kind of did the typical, well, I know this is the Pokemon I want to lead with, and he does the most damage. So everyone else is pretty much max revive fodder. Just like throw him out, let me max revive this other Pokemon. All right, now send him back, do another attack. Like I just kept going back and forth that way, and
I think
eventually I
I
got through.
I think I ended up toxic stalling with like revives. And one shotted it my first time, not
Ooh.
expecting it. I just happened to have something that knew toxic, and I forget I had something that was defensive enough to like be able to take two hits, so I could revive stuff and heal it up, and that's how I ended up winning.
All right. So overall takes on Sun and Moon. Anything else you want to add on?
No, I really liked Sun and Moon, and I think it was a great final game on handheld.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. It was the last Pokemon game on the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It was a
Main
nice send off.
series.
All right, so then let's talk about Pokemon X and Y, the Kalos region, which we never unfortunately got that Pokemon Z that people demanded for. Um, Pokemon X and Y was kind of like, I don't know if this is me that initially was thinking this or if it's now just because I keep hearing it every once in a while, but it was kind of like a rejuvenation into the Pokemon franchise a little bit, because I remember for me, I wasn't into Black and White. I wasn't really, much into Diamond and Pearl. But when it came to X and Y, I was very much just loving the fact that I got to see a lot of the older generation Pokemon. I even got to have a Squirtle, like kind of, starting like what the third. by the time you got to the third city, I think it was in the game.
Yeah, it's
Um,
after like the first gym.
and you get to mega evolve it like that quickly. Like everything like that this game was throwing my way, I was more and more into it. Although the whole Lysander storyline, it could have used some more tweaking, I think. It just felt very out of place for me, especially the whole destruction of the world of Pokemon kind of ordeal. I get that's what they were trying to go for, especially with the legendaries because it's life and death, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt very, very bizarre. Um, so what your thoughts? Pokemon X and Y. What did you like about the games or not liked about the games?
I mean, first time Pokemon was in 3D, so
Yeah.
that was the. I was the same way. I really liked Diamond and Pearl. I didn't play Platinum. I played Black and White, but I never got Black and White or White 2. And I was kind of like, honestly, X and Y I think is the reason I'm still a Pokemon fan. I I was kind of like, yeah, like I liked Pokemon, but I wasn't collecting cards. I wasn't playing the games. It wasn't like a big thing. And then seeing in X and Y, I was like, well, I guess, I mean, I've gotten every gen before, and then seeing it like in 3D and mega evolving, and like you said, like old Pokemon and like some of the new ones I thought looked really cool. And it was just, I don't know, like you said, it was a rejuvenation. And I think that kind of cemented it into being like to the nerd level I'm at now about Pokemon. And um, overall, I I enjoyed it a lot. I tend to really like the even generation games, and six is no exception. It was. I have a lot of fond memories of going through it, even though I feel that it is very forgettable, which is weird to say.
I think it's more of the aesthetic of like the region itself that was more I don't know, that the region is more memorable than the people.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking back on that. I have the same feeling towards it as I did with Sun and Moon. Like I can remember the region, I can remember the towns, the buildings, but the people. If it wasn't for the anime, I don't think I would remember half the people that's in this game. But that's why I have such a warm or a tight link to this game because around this time is when I got back into watching the anime, which
Mm,
by far for me it was probably the best Pokemon series, besides the original, of course, that I think Pokemon has ever done because it just seemed more intense. The progression of how Ash battles and his actually training and like trying to outsmart his opponent just was something I think Pokemon fans wanted for a very long time. And this is also around the same time I got back into the trading card game. And I remember my first full art was a Mega Sceptile EX from Ancient Origins. And after that, I got back into collecting and playing the card game. So there's a lot of fond memories when it came to X and Y. And now I'm looking at all the Pokemon. I don't know if there's necessarily a Pokemon design that I hate. Like you have a couple odd ones, like Diggersby, for instance.
I like Diggersby.
It's something about the weird ear hands, man. Like it's just I can't get really past that. Spupa, which is kind of like a weird middle
Pupa's a
evolution.
weird one.
But other than that, I don't think I have any issues with any of the Pokemon. Tyrantrum's an awesome Pokemon.
My
Uh,
favorite fossil Pokemon.
Gudra is an interesting take on a pseudo legendary in a way. Noivern was awesome.
I like Dragalge. I know a lot of people don't.
Dragalge did throw me off a little bit, but I started liking the design more since it was just recently introduced in Pokemon Go, and it was one of those things I had to collect and catch a lot of them to evolve it into to evolve my Scrub into Dragalge. So
Yeah.
I've grown to love Dragalge more, although I feel like Clawitzer is better than Dragalge. Uh, this was the game that we also got Fairy type.
Mm-hmm.
because we got Sylveon into the mix here too, which was another great addition to the evolutions. Like going through this whole thing, I besides Diggersby for me and Spupa, I don't there's I don't have any complaints about any of these Pokemon designs.
Mm,
Oh,
the I they were he was my starter I picked. I'm not a fan of the Chespin line.
that just caught my eye because I'm
I
looking at a
think
picture right now, and I remember initially hating Quilladin.
let me say I really like Chespin. I think Chespin is adorable.
Yes,
It's a
agreed.
really cute design. I like the what Chestnut, Delphox, and Greninja like D&D, Rogue,
Yes.
Paladin, Wizard going. Chestnut is just an ugly Pokemon.
Wait, Chestnut or Quilladin?
Both, but especially Chestnut.
I don't mind Chestnut.
Uh,
It's Quilladin I can't get over, especially if you saw it in the anime. It is so weird. Like I don't. It's almost like MODOK a little bit from Marvel, like that villain.
yeah,
The face is just like too big for its body, and it's just like, it kind of creeps me out sometimes when I'm looking at it. But yeah, I don't know. I can't get over that
yeah.
design. But Greninja, which became obviously everyone's favorite starter at some point in their lives. I mean,
It's because he's great.
water shurikens. I just
Tongue
nothing.
scarf.
There's nothing to complain about that Pokemon, and it gets a dark typing too, which is I don't know. Again, one of those more interesting takes on a Pokemon type.
Unless it's
Um,
Protean, then it's whatever type.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just very cool, and then the anime solidified it when it was used in battle, especially when it does its Ash
Ash
Greninja
Greninja.
form. Yep,
The
Ash
Ash
Greninja form.
Greninja Mega Sceptile fight
The best
in the
hands
lake
down.
is so good.
And if you watch it in its original Japanese version, it's even better.
It's so good. I mean, we also like. I'm looking at the list too. I mean, we got Tyrant, both the fossils. This is my favorite fossil generation. Barely beating out Sword and Shield with Tyrantrum, Tyrant, and Amara and Aurorus. All of those are just great. But we also got Aegislash.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite Pikachu knockoff, but I liked it in a. Um, the birds getting a fire type that early if you didn't pick the fighter starter
Oh yeah,
with
Talonflame is
Fletching to
awesome.
Talonflame. Talonflame's great. Pump to Revenant and Pumpkaboo. We got Pancham and Pangoro this generation. Like, there's a lot of Pokemon that are high up on my list of like favorite Pokemon in this generation.
There was one I wanted to point. Oh, Zygarde was an interesting addition to the game, although I didn't really get into Zygarde until. Well, didn't was there a way to get Zygarde in X and Y? Because I only remember
Yeah,
Zygarde from Sun and Moon.
I had Zygarde in X and Y. You had to do. He was in a cave. He was just randomly in a cave.
Oh man, maybe I just totally passed that part. I just remember having to collect the 100 cells in Sun and Moon to get Zygarde, and that
Yeah,
was my first time getting him.
I remember reading like where Mewtwo was and trying to find Mewtwo. I just stumbled upon him.
Oops.
Yeah, he's just like chilling in a cave somewhere. Like there's no cells, there's no 50% and 100% form that I recall. It's just just normal quote normal Zygarde.
This was the first time that we got first time is a weird way of saying this, but it's just we had sky battles in this one because I don't
Oh
think we've had
yeah, we
sky
did have
battles
Sky
before
Battles.
this,
No,
which
yeah.
you were forced to have a flying type in your team, or does it had to be the first Pokemon on your team in order for you to battle the trainer?
I don't remember.
Well, there was very few of them, I think.
Yeah, I think
Like
you did have to have a flying Pokemon at the front of your party.
Yeah, because they're not the typical trainers that like if you go right by them and they're staring at you, they're gonna stop you and go into a Pokemon fight. Like you had to kind of go up there and talk to the trainer, and then they would have to say like, "Oh, you need to have a flying Pokemon," and so you'd have to switch it to the front, and then you can finally get into a battle. So there's many of those trainers that you could have just like skipped through easily. I like the idea that they were going for. I just don't know if it really succeeded in execution because I don't know if people really remember Sky battles from this game.
No. This was the first game with hordes. I liked hordes. That was a cool
That
thing.
was fun. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really liked this one a lot. Again, I don't remember much of like the characters or anything other than your annoying friends. Um, Diantha just being an underwhelming. I liked the Elite Four hall, the their place, the Pokemon League.
Yeah.
I liked when you entered their rooms, the like cool animations that happened with all of them. I remember I like the only two I can picture the water and steel one, but I really like how they look. It's really weirdly paced. Um
AZ stands out to be like a very
AZ is weird.
odd character. No explanation really. I mean, you kind of do get backstory, but at the same time, it's like, wait, how long has this been around now? Like, what happened to
Yeah.
its Fabebe? Like, okay,
Again, the fact that like the I don't really find much of the like gym leaders memorable. Um, Again, I think Diantha is one of the most underwhelming champions of all of them. Uh, Team Flare isn't is a pretty weak enemy team.
is it weird to compare the game and the anime? Because I feel like the anime is better about Pokemon X and Y than the game itself is.
I think a little bit.
Because like Ray, if you watch Black and White and play through that game, I feel like I'd rather just play the game than watch the series.
Yeah,
Or Hoenn, for instance, was that Pokemon Master Quest and all that. Like I feel like playing the game is just much more enjoyable than the series. But this, even though I really liked X and Y, the more I keep thinking about it, I think I just more like
the
everything that got
anime.
me back into Pokemon. And the one thing that stuck out to me the most was the anime. And I would just always imagine my actions in the game just being what I saw from the anime itself. Like I like the more intense battles that the anime portrayed, and I just kind of wish that was more evident in the game itself. Like it's kind of like a weird thing. It's weird for me to try to explain it, but
Yeah,
I have more fond memories of the anime than I do of the game.
that's fair. Sycamore's great. He's, he's one of my favorite professors. Um,
Sycamore was a good card in the TCG.
I like that you get to go to the Pokeball factory. I liked that part of the game just because it was cool to be like, this is where all the Pokeballs come
You
from.
were you hinting earlier that this was your game that you didn't like the start of it?
I hate the beginning of this game
Why?
because I don't like your friends, and there's so much of that in the beginning of this game.
Too many friends. You don't like making friends.
Just Tierno. Just stop.
Well, you didn't really talk about the Mega Evolutions though, because this is the first time that we got them. What
Great.
did you like Mega Evolutions?
I do. I don't. I'm not heartbroken that they haven't come back. That's that to me. Like they've done new things and left them behind every generation. Like I don't get heartbroken over that like people have. Um, but they were. It was just so cool to see just slightly different almost like fan arts of
Yeah,
like what would the fourth evolution of like Ampharos look like?
yeah.
Majestic hair, sweet.
I'm more on the camp of I really wish there were more mega evolutions for certain Pokemon. Like I'm sad that they stopped at the number that they did, and it just doesn't seem like there's enough. Like the ones that stand out to me, obviously Mega Blastoise, Mega Charizard, just because it's weird that it gets two different versions. Obviously Mega Mewtwo as well. Mega Heracross is
Heracross.
another cool one. Pinsir is a different as a unique one as well. Like it just it saddens me that we don't get like a Mega Dunsparce or
Don't they? God, I was so hoping for something for Dunsparce and Sword and Shield.
maybe Mega Infernape or something. Like it would have been cool if we had a Mega for each of the starters, but they didn't really go that far, right? It was just the original three and the Hoenn starters,
Yeah, they added some in Hoenn.
and yeah, not even Johto starters got any. Like I don't know. I just wish they had kept going with the Mega Evolution designs and not had just stopped where they were.
Yeah, I mean, I like that essentially Gigantamax was kind of a spiritual successor to that.
In a way, yeah. I mean, everyone can Dynamax, but then only certain Pokemon can Gigantamax, and then we can.
Yeah.
It's still the same conversation of like, I wished Dunsparce had a Gigantamax, or someone else like had a different Gigantamax version. Because
Yeah.
most of them are Kanto Pokemon, right?
Kanto or Galar, yeah.
Yeah. So, they got to diversify that a little bit. Like with Z moves, they at least every Pokemon was capable of a Z move. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And certain, well, no, I can't even use that argument because only certain ones had exclusive Z moves. Man, they really do this every game, don't they?
Oh, God, how could I forget one of my favorite aesthetic Pokemon? I was looking through the megas and I was like, I forgot some of these even had megas. Mega Metagross is like one of the coolest looking Pokemon ever.
It's even cooler in its shiny form.
It's my favorite shiny.
Yep.
Metagross and Mega Metagross are my favorite shinies of all time. Like they're so the silver, but like I forgot Sharpedo had a Mega.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Camerupt. Camerupt had a Mega.
Camerup's great. The Lattes, both I forgot.
Yep. Mega Rayquaza as well.
Mega Rayquaza is great. Mega Manectric is hilarious, but in a good way. Um, I both like and don't like Mega Tyranitar. Just because I think
Got more spikes.
I just think Tyranitar is such like a perfectly designed Pokemon. Not like in the sense of like he's the best designed, but I just think for what it is perfectly designed.
Mega Tyranitar is kind of like overkill.
Yeah, this Mega Tyranitar is like a 13-year-old would be like, this would make him better.
Well, then what
Like,
about Mega Houndoom?
but I was gonna say Mega Houndoom done right because
That's fair. Okay.
I think Houndoom does look better with the straight horns,
Okay.
and then the double spike tail. Mega Scissors kind of the same thing. Like it's like it's like in between Houndoom and Tyranitar, where it's like let's take it to 11, but you only go to like 10 and a half.
Mega Gengar.
Mega Bennett is great. Mega Abomasnow
I forgot that Bennett even has a Mega.
is hilarious. Looks like he stuck his finger in an electrical outlet. Mega Beedrill. Mega Beedrill looks so cool, especially shiny. The green.
Oh, Mega Scizor. I forgot that he had one too.
Mega Steelix is great.
Oh yeah, Mega Steelix is
Mega
really good.
Slowbro is hilarious.
Kangaskhan, I feel like is a cop out Mega design.
I like Mega Kangaskhan because of its ability. I really like the idea of its of the baby coming out and actually hitting things.
Yeah, but is that really a mega form though?
I kind of.
Oh yeah, Alakazam has a mega form. Mega Pidgeot.
Mega Alakazam's great.
See, that's the
Even
thing. Like,
the
I
more
wish they just
spoons.
continued doing mega designs and not had just stopped at this number. Like, so much more potential. And I kind of wish they, at some point, they. I guess I am going to be on that camp of like, please bring back mega evolutions, but don't just bring them back, but add more, please. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
I want. I don't know if I want to say bring back megas. I would love to see some kind of weird like mix between megas and like regional form, like the lore of like Dynamaxing or like regional forms mixed with like an evolution, like
Kind of like execute into Executor or Alolan Executor.
kind of. So like you would have something like you would bring your, you know, like in a weird way to do like a fourth evolution or like a second or third evolution for Pokemon that don't have them. Where like you being in, we'll say Gen 9 region, like being in whatever region, there's some weird energy because it's always a weird energy there that like battling there enough affects them so they evolve, but it's like it's not like, oh, this is a region 9 Blastoise, but it's not Mega Blastoise, but it's like a fourth evolution. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
I
it's
do like they can only evolve to that form if they're, as long as they're in that region. But it's not just that they're in that region; they have been exposed to that region for a certain amount of time.
yeah, and
Okay,
so like you could give Dunsparce an evolution and it would evolve, but again, it only evolves here after battling enough because of whatever canonical lore reason. And so they give Dunsparce an evolution, and then its evolution's also like a regional form in a sense.
right.
And you would say, like, wasn't that just another evolution? But like you could do the type switches that some Pokemon do or add a type. Like, you know, some like Sceptile would got dragon when it mega evolved.
Yes.
And like I know again, Pokemon do that naturally, but like you could again do weird. You could just do like you can make again going to Blastoise. Like Blastoise evolves into like a pure electric Pokemon and shoots has like electric cannons. Like you could do that, and it because again it'd be like a regional variant, but also an evolution.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
like it,
I see what you mean. I get it. Yeah. That would definitely be an interesting take. I don't know how they would manage that, especially if you got to think they got to think competitive side of things and TCG balance. Like, might be more work cut out for them, but that would be definitely something new,
look at
definitely
this
something
point
interesting.
in this hypothetical, they're paying me for the ideas, not the implementation. I'm the director, and I go, "This is what we're doing. Figure it out, peons."
Yeah, Pokemon X and Y, really great games. Despite, as we've already mentioned, a lot of the gyms and characters are forgettable. But again, I think it just goes back to the aesthetic of the region itself. That whole time frame, the rejuvenation of Pokemon. That I think this is also when around the time Pokemon Go came out. No, Pokemon Go came out Sun and Moon era,
Sun
right?
and Moon, yeah,
Okay.
because we're about to hit 5 years of Go.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But the anime was great. The TCG cards, the full arts really got people back into collecting, and
Mm-hmm.
I think X and Y has brought different avenues of fond memories for players. So
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see going back to Black and White because I know I definitely did not finish either of those games. And I don't know, should we play the sequels or do we just do
So,
base Black and White?
like a year ago, I went through and did both because I didn't remember Black and White, and I never played the sequels. Sequels are very good, and they are true sequels. Like they do continue the story in a way.
This was the quote unquote reboot of Pokemon, right?
Yeah, because it's a brand new
Yeah.
150 Pokemon
This
until
one
post game.
I remember starting and I just didn't like the game enough to continue on, and that's why I never finished. So it'll be interesting to see how I feel this time around since I haven't really touched the game since it came out.
I
I
remember
don't remember. I don't bought. I think
I
I got white
remember
version.
feeling the same way when I first played it, and then replaying through it like whatever a year ago or whatever. I really enjoyed playing through them the second time. So I'd be interested to see what your your take going back to them is. I know I got
Yeah,
black version because black's my favorite color. Not considering that I like Zekrom more than Reshiram.
that's fair. All right, so one last thing I want to talk about that I want to pick your brain on because this is something I had talked about in one of my other episodes that um, I feel like Pokemon is lacking in this department, especially this year of all years. But even though every month we're celebrating a new region, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's 25 years of Pokemon, it doesn't feel like a celebration at all for me this year in a way where like the 20th anniversary I felt like, oh my gosh, we're spending 20 years, like this is 20 years of Pokemon. Like there's 20th anniversary merch every month. There's 20th anniversary promotions in the store, in commercials, like everywhere.
It's a year
This
of
year,
mythical.
the year, yeah, year of Mythical, but 25 is a bigger milestone than 20, not just because of a bigger number, but it's a quarter of a century.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't feel like a 25th anniversary celebration. Like sometimes I have to remind myself, like, oh yeah, that's right. It's been 25 years of Pokemon. Like, so you as a Pokemon fan, just as much as anyone else, do you feel that same way, or do you think they are doing enough to kind of celebrate the 25th anniversary?
Well, I've only been a Pokemon fan for 23 years because that's how long it's been in the United States. So it's fine. No, um, I agree. I am rather bummed. I was kind of hoping for another year mythical to get the mythicals that I don't have. Um, I think I'm only missing a couple now because of that weird Japan distribution to get Volcanion.
Yeah.
Um, I think like Jirachi might be like one of the only ones I'm missing at this point. Um, anyways, that's kind of beside. But yeah, just I don't know. I feel like with everything else going on in the world, I've had less time to, and not just like the pandemic and everything, but like my daughter's gonna be 1 in a few weeks,
Nice.
and so like I'm sure it wasn't you. Do you remember having a almost toddler who wants to crawl and get into everything, and like
Yes.
you don't have time to think about like there's not a lot of Pokemon news going on right now.
That's fair. Okay.
Um, my basically I listen my Pokemon news update is the Pokemon podcast. It's
Yeah.
super effective. And so basically, the only reason I'm aware of there not being news is because they point out there isn't news. It's just one of those like where I am in my life. I don't really. I would say, unfortunately, I don't have the time to be bothered by the lack of news.
I guess, but I just feel I don't know. Even like okay, so let's try to do a hypothetical here. Same
Yeah.
situation that you're in right now, right? Your daughter's turning 1,
Yeah.
still finishing up school and all that. Now, like, kind of put that same situation when it was the 20th anniversary. Do you still think you would have that same mindset? I don't want to say ignoring the Pokemon news, but like I'm not having my attention towards Pokemon news. So I'm not gonna remember it's the 20th anniversary because I feel like their promotion for the 20th anniversary, even though you could not be paying attention to it, felt like it was still enough for you to be like, oh yeah, that's right, it's Pokemon's 20th anniversary.
I was honestly less aware of it being the 20th than the 25th.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. And I wasn't even in, I was in a place to be paying more attention, but I don't, what was I even doing 5 years ago? I don't even I kind of know where I was in my life at that point. But yeah, I remember near the end of it, and it was last distribution of mythicals, and I'm like, wait, I could have been getting mythicals this whole year, and Sun and Moon coming out and being super excited for Sun and Moon. But yeah, I honestly, it was one of those things where when the actual date came up, it was like, oh snap, Pokemon's 20 years old. That's that's crazy, and then just kind of
Mm.
forgot about it.
Yeah, I guess I just expected more out of the 25th anniversary, and it could be that the pandemic just messed up their entire plan.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure they had I was always curious because of the whole P25 music thing, with Katy Perry and J Balvin eventually and Post Malone. I almost feel like they had plans to do in-person concerts with those things. Like that
Hmm.
would have been really cool. I mean, that's just my assumption, but if it wasn't for Pokemon Center, I don't know what else outside of PokemonCenter.com would people know that it's the 25th anniversary. You can't really rely on the cards because there's no 25th anniversary set yet,
Yeah.
and we do have like the starter packs that come out each month that has jumbo cards of each starter, but because of the whole scalping situation, they've been almost like non-existent, and so people want to be reminded about that. You don't have like that logo just all over the place. There's no game that says this is 25th anniversary. There's no stamp anywhere. It's like I don't know how else they would promote it. Like why are they promoting it enough to people to make them realize that it's the 25th anniversary, unless they just don't care that it's their 25th anniversary, which I find odd. But I don't know. I guess my expectations are just too high.
I think I I I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and agree that not only did the pandemic throw a wrench in their plan, but because we gotta think they probably had stuff planned that they didn't get to do, but they won't say it, but we have no idea just how many work hours they lost
Yep.
last year. I know Japan overall handled it pretty well, but they still probably lost thousands of man hours of getting stuff ready, and then for things like merch and all that, those places were also affected. So there's this whole supply chain. So it's not just oh, the office couldn't get everything together. Oh, our person who does prints our shirts was out of work for 5 months, and these people were out of work. There's so much to the machine that is Pokemon that it's not just the Pokemon company that got affected last year. And so I just think that the scope of what they probably wanted to do, there's no way for us to probably even comprehend how many dominoes got knocked out that they were setting
Yeah.
up, just got batted against the wall when COVID hit. And we'll never know, unfortunately. Maybe, hopefully, some of it can get pushed back to 30. I have to wait 5 more years for it. But I mean, I think they could be doing a little bit more. But I think they probably had so many things lined up that, again, just there was no way to feasibly get caught up. Because, again, they handled it well, but they still didn't see, like, an end in sight until, like, the end of last year.
Right.
So, like, again, that's almost a full year of planning to get ready. And, like, the anniversary itself's in February. It's not like, oh, we have till September to try to catch things up. It's like, we're back and kind of up and running, and we have like 2 months for this to officially kick off. So, while it's disappointing, I would say, I guess, again, I'm kind of relieved that just I'm not in the place. I'm busy enough in the rest of my life to not care that it is less spectacular.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, not to, be like, suck it up, people who are disappointed. I think is completely valid. Like, I almost, like, well, again, I'm not sad because now I'm not disappointed that I'm missing so much, but it does still suck.
I almost want to think, and now this is kind of going slightly off tangent, but you mentioned kind of picking up, where they left off and trying to catch up. A lot of people are speculating behind why is there a 2-month window between Diamond and Pearl remakes and Legends of Arceus, which I guess looking back at the history of releases is a little odd, especially since they didn't really do any fancy trailers or anything. I'm almost led to believe that they kind of like maybe those games were supposed to come out earlier. Like Diamond and Pearl was supposed to be like a spring game, and Arceus was supposed to be the fall game of this year. But because of COVID, obviously everything got pushed back.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it, there's a couple of things. I think they are going to be connected in some way. I think Pokemon Company probably got enough data from Let's Go to know about how long people stayed interested in that remake, even though it's not the same.
Right.
They probably have so much data to be like, this is about a 2-month game.
Yeah, okay.
Arceus probably needs more time. So I assume it would have been one or the other. And they went, well, we know this game has a shelf life or like a player retention of about a month and a half, 2 months. Arceus could use a couple extra months before it needs to be pushed out. So let's do it that way. And because they're two separate studios, I just think they happen to that's just how they lined up. Like, instead of pushing Arceus back farther, they probably are like, well, let's get it can be done by January, so let's get it done to get the team moving on to the next thing, instead of pushing it back, spending more time, and then pushing the next thing back. And like, because like Steve likes to say on the Pokemon podcast, like, that train doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And so if they kind of can see, even if this was the timeline from the beginning, or if this is like the quickest timeline they can get, that was probably set in motion so long ago that there's no real way to push it back anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I wouldn't have been surprised if Arceus was supposed to be the November game. If it was supposed to be like Snap would have come out in January, remakes, like you said, in like spring,
like April, May.
Yeah, and then Arceus in November. But then COVID hit, and they're like, okay, shift things around a little,
right,
and do this. But maybe not. Maybe this was the plan from the beginning, and
Well, there's still the question of where the heck is Pokemon Sleep?
You know, again, all those production lines got affected last year, and Sleep has a device, and
True, but I
people
mean,
aren't making microchips anymore.
Sleep came out, or Sleep was announced the same time Let's Go was announced, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
so 3 years.
just saying, like, eventually that thing has to come out unless they totally scrapped it, which I refuse to believe they scrapped that idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
It'll get here when it gets here, I guess. I'll be getting it whenever they say it's coming out. But
All right. Well, that's like I said. I just wanted to pick your brain on the 25th anniversary celebration because I feel like they could be. Maybe they're doing the best that they can given the circumstances and everything. All right. So in about hopefully 25 days maybe we'll be back again to talk about the next generation, the Unova Gen 5.
Gen 5.
Black and white. I think like I said, I think I have white version, so I'll probably be playing through white version and hopefully maybe actually finish the game this time around.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, hopefully before we get until July, so that we can get back on track with the months and the time frame of these things.
Yeah.
But Austin, if people want to follow you, what you got?
I like to like and retweet people on Twitter at Squirtle Squad SQAD47 on Twitter. Same for Instagram. I don't really post a lot of pictures there, and if I do, it's normally of my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, though, I get more free time and I can actually take like good snap pictures. I'm gonna want to start post those. Yeah, I'm also same on Twitch as well. I don't stream because of obviously, like I said, my life is so busy, but it's always a possibility to get back to doing that once school is over at the end of this year. So if you want to hit a follow on Twitch, you can. It's free. It's not going to hurt you. And maybe one day you will see me live there.
I don't think I ever asked. Is there a reason why you don't have the U in your username?
Yeah, because I was trying to get the name on League of Legends, and with the U was already taken, and I was trying to find different combinations that would work, that looked good, and I felt aesthetically that the U missing from Squad was the only one that looked right.
Does the 47 have any significance?
47 is was my number when I played in Ultimate in college, and is the number of my favorite football player, John Lynch, who is a safety for Tampa Bay and Denver.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was always curious. Like, I don't think he's ever said why he doesn't have a U in his title, but okay, now it makes more sense.
Just
it all comes together.
League of Legends screen name.
All right, and if you guys want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can find me at SpartanStrike07, or if you want to write an email to the podcast, you can write to SpartanStrike07@gmail.com. Other than that, we'll head it off from here. We'll see you guys. Well, I'll see you guys next week, and then we'll hear from Austin again in about a month when we talk about Gen 5.
Yeah, boy.